Hello everyone. Representative John Lewis, a towering figure in the civil rights movement in the United States, died on Friday. A friend of Martin Luther King. He always shared the same philosophy of non-violence. In a tribute to him, someone said that he never made you feel guilty, but made you feel responsible. He was a man stubborn in his beliefs, who fought all his life for rights, and had nevertheless a big heart. When he announced in December that he had cancer and would fight it, a fight he lost this weekend, he said, "I've been in some kind of fight for freedom, equality, basic human rights for nearly my entire life." And this was certainly true. However, the list of things that he fought for, freedom, equality, and basic human rights, each one of them is fraught with difficulty. Freedom and the difficulty of that concept, whether it's freedom from or freedom to, I discussed in the very first video on the Declaration of Independence. Today I'd like to look a little more at the concept of equality. And the same Declaration of Independence declares that all men are created equal. And until very recently, that was so, because obviously the biological process has not changed since man became man. But as soon as a person is born, inequality kicks in, because there are circumstances that are beyond the control of any one individual. One's gender, one's race, one's status, all serve to make us unequal. I mean, a trivial point, but an important one, is that I'm not really very good at football. I'm not equal in skill. It would be a massive mistake for Manchester United to try and play me in an important game. And nobody would pretend that I was equal in that case. The motto of the French Republic is usually translated as liberty, equality, and fraternity. And we know what they mean, but in fact true equality is unattainable and perhaps undesirable. We're not and never will be equal, and a society can only offer equality in certain circumscribed areas, and even in these it usually fails dismally. Now, we're not all equal in talent, whether it be at sports or we're not all equal in intellect, and we're not equal through our gender or through our race. Some people have physical disabilities. A society must take all these differences into account, but cannot promise equality across the board. What it can try to do, or perhaps better said, what it can try to be, is equitable. In any free market society, Equality, or perhaps egalitarianism, is automatically constrained by various economic factors: inflation, lack of jobs, access to credit, and so forth. And this means then that there is no level playing field in a free market economy. There can't be, because the economy is controlling everything. Now, if through circumstance we are not and cannot be equal, what is the key to founding a more just, a more ethical society? And equality is not the word we should be using. I think we should be using equity, which the Chambers Dictionary defines as right as founded on the laws of nature, moral justice, of which laws are the imperfect expression. Yes. And indeed, because the law, because society itself is a human construct, it's flawed. We all know that justice is supposed to be blind, and the same law is supposed to apply to all. It's the foundation of British law, for example. But in fact, it's not necessarily blind. Justice must always be tempered with mercy. And there is an idea that was not original with, but popularized by an American philosopher called John Rawls. And he popularized, if you like, in a book called A Theory of Justice, the idea of the veil of ignorance. Now, I have a problem with this expression, veil of ignorance, because whenever I speak about it, I always make the slip and call it the veil of innocence. And thinking of it, I think my mistake, my slip, might actually be a better term for it. But the idea of the veil of ignorance is that it is a thought experiment which is designed to determine the morality of social issues. So imagine you have a person, and the person is hidden from himself by a veil. He or she is completely ignorant of his status in society. For example, he does not know his gender, his race, his economic status, or his physical condition. Indeed, he doesn't know his age, and so forth. So he has no information about himself. Could be black, white, male, female, transsexual, old, ill, healthy, sane. He has no information about himself, but this person is rational, so can understand the consequences of the choices he makes. As I say, it's a thought experiment. Now, imagine a silly example. If I'm asked, well, should white males be given $5,000 tax-free to be paid for by increasing taxes on all other sectors of society. Of course, no government is ever going to pose that question, but imagine. So, I'm a white male, so because of vested interest, I said, oh, yes, please, why not? I'll take $5,000 and you can tax anybody else you like. But if I don't know that I'm a white male, that I might indeed be a black female or a Puerto Rican pensioner, then I would probably say, in all fairness, that this is not the right thing to do. John Rawls put it like this in Theory of Justice. No one knows his place in society, his class position or social status, nor does he know his fortune in the distribution of natural assets and abilities, his intelligence and strength, and the like. So really the veil of ignorance is asking you to put yourself in the shoes of every man. Is this legislation, is this social position fair in the sense that any reasonable member of that society would accept it? And surely allowing ourselves this thought experiment when we're deciding on the rightness of wrongness of any piece of social legislation would allow us to identify those policies, those prevailing ideas that might indeed be prejudicial to a lot of the members of our society, whether those people be black, white, Chinese, Icelandic, male, female, whatever it might be. It's an interesting intellectual exercise, I think, and it sometimes allows us to cut through and see where certain policies, however well-meaning, are in fact possibly detrimental. For example, if we allow equal opportunity, well, whatever that expression might mean, but then introduce a system of quotas so that, for example, an academic department at a university or a political group or whatever should have an equal number of women and men, an equal number of whatever the makeup of the society is, but an equal number, say, of black and white members. This all seems very, very very good, but it leads to various unintended consequences, one of which is a perfectly well qualified person who does not get the job becomes resentful. We can see our last video about this idea. Becomes resentful because he feels that he's been deprived of something. And even the person who has benefited from equal opportunity through the quota system, be she a woman or a black person or whatever, may be tempted to feel that she got the job not through any merit of her own, but simply by virtue of the colour of her skin or her sex. So it can't, this idea of positive discrimination really suits nobody, because finally it is discrimination. We'll end there for today, and I'll post a link on this video to something that discusses the veil of ignorance in more detail. Thank you very much. If you'd care to make a comment, then I'd be happy to see it.